$50 seems like a tiny amount of money for a microphone. I mean, a good microphone. But the question is, would you podcast with a $50 microphone? Would you stream with it? Would you make any content at all with a $50 dynamic microphone? Or do you need to spend $400 for something like the Shure SM7B to get good results? This is the Zoom ZDM-1. It's a dynamic microphone, much like the Shure SM7B, the Electro Voice RE20, or the Rode Pod mic. But unlike those more expensive mics, the ZDM-1 is only $50. And that's not a sale price, that's what it says on their website. Can you get a decent quality dynamic mic for such a cheap price? We need to find out. Now, Zoom is more famous for their digital recorders, but they do have a few microphones in their product line. And I bought this a year ago, by the way, so I've had some decent amount of time with it. Also, Zoom did not send me this mic. They don't even know I'm reviewing it, so I am under no pressure to say anything nice about it. Now, dynamic microphones are really popular with podcasters and broadcast professionals because dynamic mics are less susceptible to plosives than condenser mics. And since they don't fall apart when you throw P sounds at them, dynamic mics let you get closer without needing multiple layers of pop filters and windscreens. And when you get closer to a microphone, and okay, you should know this already if you've been watching my how-to videos, you reduce background noise and room reflections. And you also boost your low end with the proximity effect. So reducing background noise and that radio announcer voice is what most podcasters are looking for. However, there are two downsides to dynamic mics. The first is that they usually don't have the extended frequency response of a condenser mic, but also they're quieter. I mean, much quieter. The Shure SM7B, which many would consider to be the gold standard of podcast mics, has a sensitivity of negative 57 dB. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, that's about 30 dB quieter than your average condenser mic. And that's huge. And the ZDM-1 is only slightly louder at negative 54 dB. So both of those mics, or any dynamic mic without some sort of signal booster, is going to require a ton of clean, noise-free gain to make them usable. If you don't have a good preamp, you're going to be unhappy with a dynamic microphone like this, or just basically any dynamic microphone. One way content creators deal with this low sensitivity issue is by getting a signal booster. Now, dynamic mics don't use phantom power like condenser mics do. However, a signal booster can actually use phantom power from your preamp to boost the signal of a dynamic microphone. And it does it very cleanly so that a preamp doesn't have to work so hard. Brands such as Cloud and FetHead offer signal boosters, and you put them in between the mic and the preamp. You turn the phantom power on, and your signal gets something like a 30 dB boost. If you have a high quality preamp, though, you don't necessarily need one of these signal boosters. My Universal Audio Volt 176 USB preamp, which is what I'm pointing at right here, can handle this mic just fine without adding a bunch of noise or distortion when I turn the gain up. Now, I do have to turn the gain up pretty significantly. But also, I don't notice a difference in sound quality when I use a FetHead versus just the preamp. I mean, it doesn't change the tonal characteristics particularly. So I usually just skip the signal booster altogether. So I'm not going to use this at any other time during this video, but right now I am using the FetHead on the ZDM-1 so that you can hear what it sounds like with a signal booster. The ZDM-1 has built-in shock absorption, so you can move it around without the handling noise just completely destroying your recording. Now, I don't recommend hand holding this mic because you'll get some noise regardless, but you could. And if you have it on a desk boom, for example, you can move the boom around without having to worry too much about, like thumps and bumps. Now, just because you do have shock absorption doesn't mean you're not going to get any noise picked up by your microphone. If you have it on a desktop stand, like what I have right here, you're going to pick up all sorts of thumps and bumps from your desk. Here, I'll just set it down. Banging on the desk a little bit. And that's not the mic's fault. That is the mic stand. I really hate desktop stands. They are the devil. Don't use them. They just pick up all sorts of noise. They're horrible. Don't use them. The ZDM-1 does come with a foam pop filter, and I recommend using this even if you're not having problems with pops and plosives. And the reason is that it protects your mic. Even though it's only $50, you want your mic to last a long time, and a pop filter would keep all the spit and the gunk off your mic, and it's easier to clean and or replace the pop filter than it is to replace the mic. So let's do some plosive tests, so with and without the pop filter. Okay, so this is how the microphone sounds without the pop filter, and I'm trying to stay about the same distance. And So if I'm looking directly at the camera, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. All right, now I'm going to go right onto the mic here. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. How'd it do? I'm just looking at my meters there, my waveform. That doesn't look too bad. I'll have to listen back to it. Okay, with the pop filter on, pointing at the camera, so I'm offset from the mic a little bit. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. All right, right down the throat of the mic. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. The ZDM-1 has a built-in low roll-off. It's not adjustable. It's just the way the microphone is built, and that starts at around 100 hertz, and it looks like it might be like a 6 dB per octave roll-off, something like that. Now, this low-end roll-off is actually similar to the Shure SM7B without any filters engaged, at least by looking at the frequency response charts. While this would imply that the sound of the ZDM-1 might be a little thin, most people will use this mic very close to their mouths, and the proximity effect will offset for this low roll-off a little bit. I don't know if Zoom added some actual frequency filtering to the mic circuit to make this happen, or if it's just part of the design. So far, I've been really eating this microphone. In other words, it's right up against my lips. But if I back off a little bit and increase the volume. Okay, so I'm about a fist away here in terms of distance, and so the low end is probably pretty significantly different, even from this short distance. I tested a podcasting mic from Sontronics a few months ago, and it's called the Podcast Pro, and it is more money than this. It's around $150, but in some ways it's very similar because there's no EQ settings. It's just what you hear is what you get. However, the Sontronics microphone is a higher quality mic. Now, Sontronics asked for the mic back, which I don't know. Okay, so anyway, I sent it back, but I don't have it in my studio to compare with this right now. What I do have, though, is I'm going to play you some clips from that video just so you can get a quick comparison. Hey, it's Matt Haynes, and on the boom pole today, I have the Sontronics Podcast Pro microphone. You'll never guess who it's aimed at. Podcasters. You probably don't actually believe me about this microphone only being $50, like all the time, right? Well, guess what? I've got an affiliate link in the video notes. Click it, see if I'm lying, prove me wrong, and leave a comment if I'm lying. So, can you make content with the $50 Zoom ZDM-1? Yes, definitely. I think the mic sounds a little thinner than some of its more expensive competitors, but you get a lot of mic for $50. Now, are the Shure SM7B or the Electro Voice RE20 mics 8 times as good as the Zoom mic because they're 8 times as much money? I'm not sure. Of course, the SM7B or the RE20 are mics that people buy just to look like they're professionals. No one's buying the ZDM-1 to look cool, for sure. But if you're just trying to sound cool and you're on a budget, then the ZDM is definitely worth considering. But what about that Sontronics Podcast Pro I showed you earlier?